On this next turn, here in Space Empires, blue made an attack on red here, the system ship with a scout. It was about an even fight, actually. The system ship gets, or the shipyard gets first shot, but they were about equal otherwise. The blue ship was destroyed, however, which allowed the miner to leave there and start heading back, and other miners coming back with some resources. Blue, on the other hand, was able to pull a 10-point resource. They got destroyed by a danger ship. Otherwise, nothing much has happened. We're going into the economic production here. Blue did some technological research last turn. Red did not, so blue's going to have the advantage of being ramped up on that. Of course, they may also want to start building their attack at this point too. Blue's higher production, especially with the mineral addition they've been able to pull in, red hasn't been able to this turn. And blue looks like they'll be able to grab a few more out here fairly quickly. They were able to build what technology? The terraforming technology, which they think is very important, so that they can start colonizing these areas in the backlands where they're not really threatened. And they also managed to build 2 colony ships. Yeah? No, just one, I guess. I thought they built a second one over here. Yeah, I paid for 2. Oh, there it is. Okay. 2 colony ships, and they're planning on moving forward and just expanding their economy back where they can. They're pretty sure they can't crack Red's capital with 2 bases on it anytime in the near future. However, they did outfit a bunch more smaller ships, or some more smaller ships, to head down and try to take this. What they didn't do was get the extra point of movement, which with 4 movement would have allowed them to make an attack before alerting red. That's going to be really key. Whoever gets that next point of movement has a real advantage, because blue could strike down to here, red could send a fleet up as far as this colony here and begin stripping away blue's colony advantage. Red really has to start doing something, but neither one is in that position quite yet. Blues managed to get their pipeline in place. It didn't activate this turn, just the ones they had, but as that increases, it's going to make them more and more valuable. All right. Well, red's making blue go first this turn, and blue sort of looked at the situation and said, I'm not sure, and moved its fleet back, used its pipeline to actually stream a colony ship a little faster. But it's a little worried about its supply link here, because red sent a ship forward, and that can raid the supply lines. Blue's movement in this direction convinced red, hey, I've got something I can do. Meanwhile, the miners are still going about trying to grab something. Back here, it's going to be easier for blue to protect, because that's behind their lines completely. But here, there's sort of this exposed area that has to be defended, and blue's going to have to work towards that. It may be that red can get an advantage there if they have a decent ship or something. All right, on to the next turn. And it's not the most dramatic result in the world, but red managed to raid one of those merchant convoys, or shipping lanes, or whatever. There was a scout assigned to defend it. That wasn't much of a fight against one of red's heavy cruisers. So, well, blue lost a ship. Red might have had a shot at taking this planet in the making out as well. Instead, though, there were 4 scouts there. They didn't know this. Could have been split 3-2. It could have been whatever. They went for what looked like the easier game, and it turned out well enough. It takes a resource point away that the shipping route would have given from here, but it doesn't really halt blue's growth that much. It is showing, though, that red's going to start playing this kind of guerrilla war unless blue can do something serious about them, and I'm not sure what that's going to be. So we're going on into the economic round again, and we'll take care of that. Okay, so for the first time, we get some interesting stuff going on, there's no question. Blue, what do I mean for the first time? Let's see, blue built Well, they expended a lot of research points. They're only real mainly on defense. They didn't have a lot of cash. They're kind of running behind actually here. They built a colony ship back here to keep exploiting these areas in the back, but they don't have their shipping lines secure, and they're not quite sure how they're going to defend them. This cruiser is really a threat to them. All they have to face it is these scouts. Red was considering building a battle cruiser, which would be even more potent at doing the raiding, but instead they actually built themselves a colony ship, and they're working on carrier technology. They think the fighters will be the big edge that'll break Blue's back, essentially. Honestly, though, these raiders look like they're going to be very effective at busting up Blue's attempts to expand out here. But I don't know, technology and its lure are just too great. The colony ship's being built by Red in order to go expand out here. The miner here is about ready to drop some points off and head back. Whether or not Red seems to think that Blue is ignoring them down here, and it does seem to be the case. Blue didn't build any ships again. It feels like Red's on the offensive now. Anyway, we're going to start the new turn very shortly. So on the first round of this next turn, Red managed to slip up and destroy the shipyards up here, starting to try to bombard the colony. It didn't get a hit in. Blue's sending a fleet over to engage with it. At the end of 2, Red slipped up here, destroyed the miner that was there that had dropped off minerals, made another bombardment attempt against this other colony, while the Blue fleet is continuing to chase it. And then to close things off, Red finished that colony off, destroyed that. The Blue fleet did not follow up. It's going to guard the current colony. If they were destroyed by that cruiser, and it's a decent chance. They've got 5 scouts there. They got good numbers, but it's just so scary to engage something bigger than you are, even with the numerical superiority. And if they couldn't destroy it, they'd be in bad shape in terms of defending this colony. On the other hand, Red's doing some actions down here that are looking kind of frightening as well. They're shipping more materials in, and a miner and a colony ship out to go explore and try to find some kind of planet to colonize over here. At the very least, there's this one, Castor, which, yeah, won't be well connected, but it'll be way away from Blue's ability to affect it. And any kind of attack, I'll have enough warning to build a shipyard and some defenses, etc., if need be. So we go into another economic phase. So this is the beginning of the 10th turn, actually. Red got their technology for fighters and built some. They didn't build a carrier for them. They're not looking at raiding quite yet. They're looking at increased defenses, actually. Maybe a fear that Blue will attack. They want to get their cruiser out of there. They don't really want to engage that fleet if they can help it. They don't know how big it is, but they have a pretty good idea, actually. On the other hand, they're seeing, as long as their cruiser's back there patrolling, and they've got Blue in this kind of deadlock, they seem to actually be having the advantage expansion-wise. And it's going to take some time to get that to trigger. On the other hand, of course, Blue's building shipyard and defenses here. They built a new shipyard here. Well, they're building shipyard here to increase the defenses, basically. Still, and this is kind of strange, Blue hasn't moved to here. They don't really need to because they're just as good on the Barrens, but given the situation and the position, this seems like a kind of nice location, actually, now. Here's the problem. You start running out of counters. Blue's down to 1 remaining shipyard. You can't fight. You can't. They've got bases on planets. They've got shipyards on planets. You can't. All their bases are in use. You can't defend everything with static defenses in this game. So if they don't figure out a way to cope with this thing that's ravaging around in their rear areas, and they're hoping to, they're going to have a real difficulty in actually enforcing the strategy that they were following in terms of being able to expand back here for free. I actually owe them $1 because they had a mine connection, a merchant connection to that I didn't count. All right, well, on to the first turn in this one. Here in the third round, the red ship, blue was willing to let it slip away. What they weren't willing to allow it to do is get close to this planet. They'll have to build more forces to defend that planet if the red ship is threatening it. So their decision was to launch their fleet after the red ship. Now the red ship's been unwilling to fight the blue fleet and whatever was built here, but the blue fleet, the shipyards, but the blue fleet on its own, they were less unwilling to face. They think they can handle that. I don't think they can, but they do. Meanwhile, one of the miners discovered a big mineral deposit and wants to get that back as quick as possible to get some production. He's letting the colony ship do exploration as well. There's no other way to get to Castor, really. So he's going to work his way there. If he finds something great, if he dies on the way, that'll suck. Okay, so let's take care of this little battle. We got the cruiser, and facing it, we've got 5 scouts. Now, 5 scouts should be able to handle this cruiser, I think, but I'm not absolutely certain. Last time we saw the cruiser handled itself quite well. Now, blue, we once again have to look at these charts, and this is kind of painful. At least it's all one counter. Scout number 5 has attack only, and the cruiser has 1 level of attack and 1 level of defensive skill. So, the cruiser actually gets to shoot first, though, and it's going to have a 5. It manages to take one of the scout ships down without a problem. And this combat system's not bad as long as the number of ships is low. If the number of ships ever gets really huge, it's going to be very, very annoying. Even the big battle that we saw before, which wasn't tremendously large, was kind of painful. Now the scout comes back and we got 4 dice coming. Needing 2s. They got 1 hit. That does a damage. Now the cruiser could withdraw at this point, and that's kind of what they wanted to do. They wanted to inflict 1 battle damage and then pull out. And, well, they can actually withdraw to here legally. And that leaves the scouts up here having lost a unit and not really done anything. But they did chase the cruiser back a little bit, but it's still in a threatening position. And now we go back to the economic phase. Well, red spent $2 on a bid for going first. Blue spent 1. So red got to choose, and they want to go first. Blue is going to increase this colony now. And they built ships here, and also a colony ship up here, because now that the cruiser's gone, they can try to recoup their position back there. But the red player also built a new colony ship. They built a new ship here, and it's a secret carrier. Not that that's terribly helpful. Nobody's gone for the movement action option yet, which it's hard to justify because it isn't that big a bonus. It's a big bonus if you have a lot of movement, but the 1 extra space over the course of 3 turns is kind of hard to justify a big expenditure on when you can, maybe build bigger hulls or get the fighters or whatever. Definitely seeing a situation, though, where we're getting to a kind of parity. These 2 big planets next to each other. It feels almost like Athens and Sparta facing each other off for dominance of Greece. Anyway, we'll step back. I'll load this one up, and then we'll start the the actual combat rounds, or actual turns, see what happens. I think Red's got a number of options. One is they could move into here. Now they don't know what's here. They haven't seen that that's a base. They don't know what's here particularly either. They do know what's here and are pretty sure they can handle it. And it might be a best move to move in there, attack that first, and then fall back, because they're pretty sure that blue couldn't build a lot of ships here. That's a fairly new colony. The fact that there is a ship there tends to indicate that either that's a base or it's only a single ship, because the shipyard could have only been level 1 as of last turn. Their fear of bases makes this the most attractive of the options by far. And then let's see what else we got. Well, we got the continual movement of these colony ships hoping to establish an empire over here. I've got to be real careful, though, not to trigger the doomsday machines. At least not if I can't lead them towards blue somehow. Which might be a viable option. Send a light ship out there and try to get them to chase me into blue's homeland. On the other hand, blue might do the same thing. Alright, up this goes.